Okay, so welcome to tonight's session. Tonight's session is going to be on risk management. We're going to look at how we can use RedLog and Risk Register. These are tools for risk management. So we're trying to understand how to use these two tools. So yesterday we've did project charter. So tonight is going to be risk management. And we're going to look at these few tools here. Okay, when it comes to risk management in projects, we have this tool called RedLog, and we have another tool called, this is Risk Register. Yeah. Risk Register just helps us to register only the risk. But registering only the risk is not enough in your project. There are other factors that can lead to risk, and you need to understand those factors, register them, and manage them. This way, you are going to be having few risks. This is using RedLog is the strategic approach for risk management. But Risk Register is tactical approach. Tactical means there is a reactive approach, reactive. But this RedLog is more strategic. In projects, it's not only risk that we look out for. We have issues, we have assumptions, and we have risk. We have dependencies. All these things contribute to risk and issues. So, but let us first understand risk. Risk management is the process. Okay, what is the risk? Risk is any factor or situation that can make our project to be out of alignment, out of direction. That is risk. And risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, mitigating potential risks that could negatively impact a project. It's an essential practice in project management to minimize uncertainties and ensure project success. Project is an embodiment of risk. It's like you are managing a bag of risk. that is project. So by managing risk proactively, project team can avoid or reduce issues. Issues are that risk that has already happened. It has happened. You are dealing with it at that moment. That is issues. It's deadlier than the risk because it's already happening. And all these things can derail the project objectives. It can derail the project timeline. It can derail the project budget. So if you're planning to manage a risk, we have key 4 components we need to look at if you want to manage your risk effectively. The first thing is that you cannot manage what you do not know. You have to first identify a risk. Identify a risk, spotting potential risk that could affect the project. Yeah, that is risk identification. When you identify a risk, then there is need for evaluation, assessment, evaluating the impact and the likelihood of that risk. Risk, it has not happened. Why I call it risk? Risk are issues that have not happened. If you manage it very well, you can stop it from happening. You can manage it by stopping it. You can transfer it, or you can own it, and it will then happen and become issue. You start dealing with it. So after assessing a risk, we need what we call mitigation. How do we manage? That is mitigation. Managing the risk. Planning around that risk so that if the risk comes, if it eventually becomes an issue, it's not going to disrupt our project, or we minimize the impact. If it's a risk that is likely to kill someone, we can minimize the impact, that it will cause some damages, but we might have no loss of life. That is minimization of the impact. Yeah, we are not saying that it's not going to happen. But if it happens, like pandemic, if a pandemic happened, we couldn't stop it from happening. Natural disaster happened, we couldn't stop it. Then you put on a situation to reduce the impact. That is risk management. If you look at what happened in the Bible, like flood coming, they already know that flood is going to come. It's a very big risk that's going to threaten the human race. All that Noah did is risk management. He mitigated the risk of that flood so that the whole human race will not be wiped away. He started building the ark and saved human. He couldn't stop the calamity on human race, but he was able to preserve some people, save some people to continue human existence. That is minimizing the risk. So he couldn't stop, Noah could not stop the rain, the flood, but he could minimize the impact. That's what risk minimization, impact minimization. And when you start managing a risk, mitigating a risk, you don't join, it's not a one-off. You need to keep your eyes open, because some risk, if you just abandon it, it will appear again. So you continue monitoring, tracking until throughout the project life cycle. Monitor, that's risk monitor, continuous management throughout the project life cycle. So if you are a project manager, these are 4 ways you can start handling the risk. But it's not easy to just manage it this way if you don't have a structured approach for risk management. And this is where these tools like RedLog, Risk Register comes in to help you identify, assess, mitigate, and monitor. So this is where we're bringing in RED, tools for risk management. RedLog, the word RED stands for R in the RED is risk. A in the RED is assumptions. And I in the RED is issues. And D in the RED is dependencies. These 4 factors are key areas where any of the challenges in the project can come from. So if you can capture risk, assumptions, issues, dependencies very well and manage them, you find out that you have your project under control. RedLog is a simple, organized document that tracks these 4 critical elements, providing a holistic view of project threats and considerations. We've talked about risk, potential events that may negatively impact on the project. Assumptions are assumptions made at the beginning of the project that could impact the outcome of the project if they change. Some of the things we assume they are going to happen. For instance, one assumption in a project is that we are going to have a business analyst throughout the project life cycle. Business analysts, some of us do not really understand their impact in project management and business analysis. If eventually the business analyst that we start a project with eventually leaves, it could impact on the project negatively because he or she understands the project architecture very well, more than anybody, more than even the project manager. So it's an assumption. So if the project manager leaves, then it could be a big issue. If we agree to use a specific amount of money, here we assume that £10,000 can deliver this project. If eventually the £10,000 would not, then you find out that it becomes an issue. So anything we assume at the beginning of the project is, well, that's what we mean by assumptions, that is going to happen. If it doesn't happen, it becomes a big problem. So you need to identify all the assumptions at the beginning of the project and monitor them. That is it. These are like channels, pipelines where the risks are coming from. We identify all the pipelines and block them. We have issues. Issues are problems. It has happened. It's no longer a risk. When we say it's a risk, it's still potential. Potential is risk. It can be diverted. It can be blocked. It can be stopped. It can be transferred. That is potential problem. But issue here is that it's no longer potential. It has happened. And you have to deal with it. How do you deal with it? Hey, Joma, put yourself on mute. So, we have dependencies. Dependencies are items, project items, project activities, project tasks that depends on another. Dependency. Let's look at it from this way, dependent. Most children are dependent on their parents. Let's say a child is programmed. The father has promised you and programmed this child to study to the university level and have a degree. And he's depending on his father to supply resources. His father needs to work. His father or his parents or mother need to work and provide the money for him or her to go to school, from nursery school, primary school, secondary school, and university, and become a graduate. So, this young man being a graduate is dependent on the continuous supply of resources from the parents. If, for example, the father lost a job and couldn't get a job again, it could impact on this project of this young man going to university. If eventually the father dies, even before he finished secondary school, that's why we see so many people, they are brilliant, but they couldn't go to university because they lost their parents. They find other means to survive. So you see how dependencies comes into our raid. But if you don't know all this, you are going to rush and start focusing on risk alone. You do not know about dependency. You do not know about assumptions. You don't even know. You keep on focusing on the type. But all these areas, the problem are going to come in to become a risk. You didn't block them. You still find yourself in a very big trouble. For instance, if this man have been saving money or putting it in a dedicated bank account, yeah, some people does that. dedicated account to train the children when the man was buoyant, because things can change. Or the man decided to have a side hustle, a viable side hustle, which is advisable for every family. Have a side hustle. If you lose a job, you can switch onto your side hustle and make it your main job. While you're working on the high side hustle, you can be looking for another. That way, you keep on till you finish training your children. So, but if you just rely on one source of income, and that source of income close, you find out that is a big problem for the family. So these are key items, key elements you need to look into when you try to manage a project risk. Don't just focus on the risk alone. And that's why I choose RAID log over risk register. RAID log is more elaborate, it's more robust. So let's look at risk register. You see, risk register is another tool. There is no need of having two tools to manage one project, because you are going to be distracted by the two. So it's better to concentrate using one project tool, like risk management tool. It's either, for me, you use RAID log or you use risk register, but I choose RAID log over risk register. Risk register is a focused tool dedicated solely for tracking risk within a project. It details each risk, its potential impact, likelihood, mitigation plan, and status. Key section in risk register: every risk register must have a unique ID, identifier for each risk. A description: every risk must be properly described. Category: every risk must be categorized as either technical risk, financial risk, or operational risk. Likelihood: there is probability of this occurring. We have what we call probability number. Impact means severity of this risk. Impact is equally, when you're assessing the impact of the risk, how you assess it is how many people are going to be affected if this risk actually turns into a problem, becomes an issue. How many people are going to be affected? That means the severity. If it's a risk that is going to affect everybody in the organization, you know that is a critical risk, not just high risk. We call it critical. If it's a risk that is going to affect a whole department, you can call it high risk. If it's a risk that can affect 2 people, you can call it moderate risk. If it's a risk that will affect only 1 person, you can call it a low risk. So that's what I mean by severity of a risk. For instance, today, internet becomes the backbone of every operation in any organization. If you are working in an organization that doesn't use internet to do their work, then you know that you are You people are still in the dark age. Any small break in transmission in the internet, everybody will start complaining because nobody can do their job. Everybody is always on the internet using it to do their job. It's either you are logged in on CRM system, you are using it to do your work, or you are logged in on ERP system, you are using it to do your work, or you are logged in on ITSM, using it for, IT support. So these are, all of them are connected to the internet. Yeah. So when a situation like that happens, that's why so many organizations, they have backup. That is risk management, backup internet. You have the main internet source, then you equally have internet called proxy server. Anything happen, everybody will quickly switch into the proxy server, and that is reducing the severity of that internet going out. Because if you don't have that kind of server and the main internet source goes out, everybody can just be blanked out. And you don't know how long it's going to take the IT team. It could take them like 2 days to restore the main internet source. Does it mean the whole 2 days nobody's going to do anything? That's why we'll have backup. That backup server is risk management. You can see electricity is extremely important. Every organization that uses electricity, they have even up to 3 sources. Some of them have inverter. Once the main electricity is out, they switch to inverter. If the inverter fails, they switch to their lister generator. Some even have solar energy, depending on how important electricity is to them. That is mitigation plans. So severity will determine the mitigation plan. So mitigation plan, just like I've stated, all these I'm stating are mitigation plan to cushion the effect of the risk. So the steps to prevent or reduce the risk. Every risk must have an owner. In your team, when a risk is identified, you, the project manager, you are accountable to make sure that the risk is under control. That doesn't mean you are going to be the one to manage all the risk. You assign an owner who will take responsibility of managing that risk within your team. Yeah. So, and equally current status. Every risk must have a status. It's either that the risk is managed and closed, or it remains open. So these are things we are going to see in a risk register. Yeah, but like I said, I use RedLog because everything in risk register, you already capture them in RedLog. Yeah. So the question, who is raising hand, you have critical, because question is after the session. If it's not about, if there's anything, maybe you're not hearing my voice, or then you can ask question. Who is raising hand?
Okay, I'm sorry, it was a mistake.
How to use a red log or risk register. First, identify risk and any other element. When you have a team, risk management is not a one-off thing. You can't just say, I've done my risk management, I've created the document for my risk management, I've sorted it out, and that is it. You are not going to come back to risk management again because I've done that. No. Risk management in a project is a continuous, it's like a cycle. You keep cycling it. It's not something you do once and it's over. So, in most of the cases in the project I've handled, we create what we call a meeting, a statutory meeting we hold at least once every week. And we call it RAID meeting. There are some meeting that we'll call it statutory meeting because it's something that we'll find a suitable date, a suitable day. It can be Monday, it can be Tuesday, it can be Thursday or Friday, it can be midday, it can be in the morning. The team will pick a suitable date or day for them in a week and time and make it their RAID meeting day. Every week you have a RAID meeting, every week. So just like project status reports, where you report the status of the project, entire project, is a statutory meeting as well. These are statutory meetings that you continue to have it. Kickoff meeting is a one-off meeting. You don't kick off meeting twice. Once the meeting is on, it's on. But some meeting, we need to be having it continuously. Another statutory meeting, just like RAID meeting, is lesson learned meeting. You document the lesson you learn. So all this goes together. So when you and your team have decided your RAID meeting day, at the meeting, you do a brainstorming. That's how we generate risk. Risk do not fall down from heaven. There is no mathematical input used to do calculation and you get a risk. There is no tool, automated, maybe AI, that is automated that will be sending risk or all it. No. It's you, the team. That's why you do it every week. You come together as a team and you do brainstorming. Can any of us here tell me what brainstorming is in a project management? Brainstorming. Yes, Ben?
I think brainstorming means possibly thinking outside the box, like thinking about necessary things that must happen or what is not happening, or just going back and forth about some things and eventually drawing a conclusion.
Yeah, it's not thinking outside the box. It's inside the box. You have to think inside the box before you start thinking outside the box. Yeah, Christopher. Christopher.
Sorry. Good evening, sir. So
Yeah,
brainstorming has to do with bumping ideas with your team, like bumping ideas on an issue, trying
good.
to come up with something that would be generally agreed.
Yes, that is what I mean by brainstorming. Is generating ideas, maybe on a particular topic. So, yeah, out of thinking out of box means there is no solution. So you have to become creative. That is, I want us to out of box means is out of what we are doing. We need an innovative idea at this point to solve this problem. But you cannot think out of box while you have not even brainstormed within the box. Yeah, it's when there is no solution within the box, then you start going out of the box to look for ideas. Most of the time, out of the box, when we talk out of the box, we are talking about innovation. We are talking about creativity. Something that doesn't happen within the environment we are. So we have to look for innovative ideas. So that's why I disagree with thinking out of the box at this moment, because we have not even brainstormed within the box. So the main thing is the team. Look at what you guys have. Look at the timeline. When you want to do a brainstorming in a project, then you look at the timeline. Are we still, there are key questions that need to, are we still on track? In our timeline, we have let's say we have 6 months on this project, and we've already spent 1 month. So we have 5 months remaining. During the RAID meeting, the brainstorming on the timeline is like, are we still on track? We have 5 months. Are we still on track that within these 5 months, we should be able to deliver the remaining 5 months, we'll be able to deliver this project? That is brainstorming. If we think there is delays, then why is delays? Over the 1 month we've spent here together as a team, we've recorded 2 delays or 3 delays. We've seen that Christopher supposed to submit his deliverable on Mondays, but he didn't submit deliverables on Monday. He ended up submitting his deliverable 1 day after and causing us to have delays. So if you are saying we're having a delays, why are we having delays? Why? That's a problem. That's brainstorming. Why are we having delays? We need to find out why are we having this delay to make sure, because that delay is a risk. We say is Christopher. He didn't submit. Why did so at this point, because we have a team in a kind of situation like this, this is where somebody like business analyst will come in. So you, the project manager, we see there is a delay. That is risk identification. We have identified delay here. That is a problem. See, that is how you generate all this risk. You look at what is not supposed to happen and it's happening. That's a risk. You ask yourself, why is it happening? This is a problem. And we need to find out why it's happening. If you are a project manager, you can appoint the business analyst to own this risk, because business analysts, they are very good in solving problems. And the business analyst will come in and apply what we call root cause analysis to find out where there is a delay. You can apply why. The business analyst can say, okay, let's apply why. You keep asking questions until there is no question to ask. That's what I mean by why. You keep asking, why do we have delay? Because Christopher did not submit the deliverable on the due date. Why did Christopher not submit because Christopher have too much workload. So he's having a lot of workload, his work. So at this point, we see that Christopher is overwhelmed. So as a project manager, it's okay, Christopher, you see, I'm going to reduce your workload, because if you continue this way, and if you find out that you remove workload from Christopher, we don't have enough people to do the work again, because all this work needs to be done. Then we say, at this point, we need to hire an extra hand. Yeah. So something like that. So that is how you do brainstorming. And in a situation like that, when there is delay, it's going to come with a lot of knock-on effects. Because when there is delay, it's going to delay the time, and even the money, the work that is supposed to be done in 1 day, then it is done in 2 days. So you are, instead of you paying for 1 day, you are now paying for 2 days, and you didn't budget for 2 days for that tax, because every tax you budget that this is the amount of money you are paying for this tax, and now you are paying for 1 day for this tax, you are paying for 2 days, and if you keep on having delays, it means that all the tax you have scheduled to do for 1 day is being done into 2 days, meaning you have to start paying double for a particular tax, and the timeline is equally shifting. So you see that the foundation of your project is already shifting, which is a big risk. So that is it. You need to identify it. And when you identify it through brainstorming, you log them. That's what I mean, logging. You log it in, assign owner, resolve it, and close it. Yeah, that is brainstorming in all project areas. It's not in one area. Every foundation of that project, every pillar in that project, timeline, budget, all resources, everything that surrounds the project, you are going to look at the project with a lens and see where there is gray. Any dot, anything you are spotting, you are penning it down. Anything that is not supposed, any strange behavior, you are writing it down. And you are going to be doing this on weekly basis. This is when we are managing the project within waterfall environment. I have to make it clear that this is done in waterfall environment. We are going to deal with project methodologies. We have waterfall and we have agile. We'll deal with them later. If you are managing project within agile environment, it's going to be different. Just like I said, we have to choose a day that's going to be statutory for managing the project. If it's on agile, it's different. It's different because in agile, according to the Scrum guide, agile says every day. You have to manage your risk every day. You need to have a meeting every day. That meeting is to inspect your project. for risk identification. We call it daily stand-up. It's 15 minutes meeting every day, where every team member, you are going to come and give account of what you are doing. You come and state what you are doing, what you have been doing, and what you are going to do that day, and what challenges you are having. And as you are stating all this, the Scrum Master, which is the project manager, will be taking notes. After taking notes, the Scrum Master will then see challenges. We call it blockers. So pen it down and deal with it. One, that is the way we identify risk in Agile. So understand the two scenarios. The other one can be on weekly basis, and the other one can be on daily basis. The other one, Agile, is daily basis, and it must be 15 minutes. When you are spending more than 15 minutes trying to do brainstorming, you are no longer practicing Agile. You are on your own, according to Scrum Guide. Because if you are doing it every day, then there is no need why we should spend more than 15 minutes. Because it's fresh. Every problem or risk being identified is fresh. But if we have it that we are catching up once in every week to examine our project health, then we find out that within the 1 week, there might be accumulation of risk. So in that case, we can spend even 2 hours trying to do brainstorming in a RAID meeting. So that is it. So when you do your brainstorming, you do documentation and document assumptions to clarify expectations that may later affect the project, list issues that have already impacted the project, record dependencies that may affect the project's timeline and deliverable. So during the brainstorming, these are all the things you need to record, all of them. After all this record, you need to do the assess. For each risk, this mainly on risk register. You equally do it in RAID log as well. Each risk here, evaluate likelihood. During the evaluation, it's going to be either low, medium, or high. And example, minimum, moderate, severe. Okay, like I said, there is no mathematics here for you to determine if it's low, if it is high, if it is medium. But you use a scenario. How many people are being impacted? That's what you are going to ask your team, you and your team. Like I used internet, for instance. If it's internet, you are trying to evaluate how many people, if internet outage, if it goes out, how many people are likely going to be affected? Everybody. So, if it's going to affect everybody, then it's going to be critical. That is either critical or high. That's critical. If it's maybe it's going to affect 70%, or let's say even 60, even 50% is high impact. But if it's going to affect You can use percentage. If it's going to affect like, well, let's say 30%, you can say medium. But if you like only 10%, you can say low. So the impact will determine the response. The impact determines the response on how to deal with such risk. If it's critical, that is going to affect everybody, such risk should be addressed within 24 hours. That is high impact. The severities, maybe we call it critical. If is, let's say, high, you say that should be addressed within 7 hours. If it is moderate, you can say it should be addressed within 1 day. If it is low, you can say it can be addressed within 2 or 3 days. So the impact or severity determine the energy you put in managing or resolving the risk or the issue at hand. So that's why you have to do that. So prioritize risk based on their potential to affect project adversely. High impact, likelihood risk should be addressed first. Like I said, the risk with most impact or likelihood should be the one to address. Develop mitigation plan. Outline action to prevent each risk from materializing to reduce its effects. Yeah, you have to, every risk you identify, assign it to owner. There is now the owner or the team to come up with a plan to handle it. In some cases, you find out that there is need for insurance policy, such that is going to reduce the effect. You can insure the whole project you are managing as a project manager. You can insure the whole project and be paying the premium on that project. What you have done is that you have transferred the risk, yeah, to the insurance company. They now own the risk. So if anything happens, a risk that will close the project, you find out that the project cannot be closed because it's already transferred. The insurance company will take over, because there's a risk will happen that you will not have enough resources again to continue the project. If you identify that such risk, transfer the risk to the insurance company. You know, for instance, you need a vehicle for the project. As you are buying the vehicle, on that day you purchase the vehicle, is a project vehicle. Insure the vehicle. That's on the spot. As a matter of fact, here in the UK, you cannot even drive your car out of the car purchasing warehouse or showroom where you bought the car. You can't drive it out without insuring the car. That is a risk, because while trying to drive the car to your place of work or home, that day you can have an accident. The accident might be you at fault that need to pay a huge compensation or huge damage to the person. So, and looking at the money for the project, you find out that the money you have for the project, after paying the damage, you people might not even have enough to continue the project. So all you need to do is transfer the risk, and if such a thing happens, insurance company will take over and pay the damage. So these are ways of managing risk. These are mitigating circumstances you can develop. If you have money, the financial budget, like I said yesterday, you still have to do, because I say you need to do across board. When you are doing brainstorming, you don't do half and half. You have to do brainstorming on the budget as well. How do you do that? If you are very smart, you can plan that project to be on a very tight corner. Yes. If you have 10,000 pounds to build a CRM system, you can say, I'm not using these 10,000 pounds. I'm going to remove 3,000 pounds and keep it as contingency. That is a risk management. You've kept something for the rainy day. And then you brought out 7,000 and you start managing around the 7,000. It's not going to be easy. Yeah. If, for instance, you are based in UK, you can say, yes, I'll just, if you need like 3 business analysts, to pay business analysts here in UK is extremely costly. Some contract business analysts earn between 400 to 600, well, depending on the experience, even 700 a day. So you can just say, okay, let's get 1 business analyst here in UK to become the lead BA. Maybe you need 3 business analysts. You get 1 BA in UK, you go to Upwork and advertise and start looking for more quality business analysts from Africa. Instead of paying them 500 pounds, you are paying the business analysts in UK, you can start paying them 100 pounds a day and they'll be happy. These are ways, you know, you've tried to reduce your expenditure, cutting down costs. What you are doing is apply lean, risk, apply lean in your project. What do you mean by lean? Waste reduction. Anything that will bring waste, you eliminate it, reduce your budget. That will make you not to struggle financially in that project. But if they ask you to recruit, you can just say you need 3 BA, you come to Upwork and you see 3 London BAs and you employ them, 500 pounds a day, you know. The more you keep burning the cash. At the end of the day, any small thing you see, the shock will be too much because you have nothing to fall back on. So these are ways you can start managing your risk through finance, through timeline, through any way. Yeah. So you develop a plan. Every plan depends on the risk. Mind you, risks are different. Risks are different. You cannot use mitigating circumstance or mitigating plan for risk A for risk B. if you are planning for material resources like a used car, insurance, you use insurance to handle that particular risk. When you want to buy a car, or you want not only car, other material resources. For instance, if you are going to decide if you are building an estate and you are going to Dangote, maybe to whichever way you are doing, you might decide to use insurance so that if anything happens on the goods on transit, or you can even be importing goods. A lot of project managers or projects, they import goods from abroad, from China. Something can happen. Your goods can sink in the sea. If you have insured such material resources, you find out that you don't have anything to bother. If the goods go down or whichever, if the insurance company will take over that. So you see, you cannot apply this kind of risk while trying to manage your budget. So in your own budget, you can decide to not use every month. So use your expert knowledge to know which plan you are going to apply. That's why you need to look for who is more experienced within your team members and assign them to manage a risk. If a business analyst is better in material management, you assign, or maybe insurance management, you assign business. If there's another team member that is better in money management risk, then so decide who the best to assign. But it's important that every risk must have an owner. Find whoever is the best person to own the risk. And that's where the ownership comes in. Assign risk ownership. Designate a team member to be responsible for each risk or issue. If you don't have enough people to delegate to manage, you can own some, you yourself as a project manager, but you must not do everything, not overwhelm yourself when you have team members. Let them own some responsibilities of managing some risk, and you become the supervisor on how the risk is being managed. The risk owner will monitor, report on the risk status, and execute mitigation action. So during the meeting, like say RAID meeting, we are supposed to be having once every week. At that meeting is not only brainstorming. Maybe before we start brainstorming, every team member that owns a risk will come and give account of what's happening in the risk they are managing. Whether the risk is fully managed, shall we close the risk, or shall we leave it open? After giving account of how the risk management went, then the team can then start another brainstorming session to identify more risk. So, monitor and update regularly. Review RAID log or risk during the project meeting. Like I said, project meeting, update as new risk issues and dependencies emerge. So at the end of every meeting, you must identify more risk. Don't say we don't have any risk. Try as much as you can. Even if it's not, the risk is not matured, you can, don't ignore any, no risk should be ignored. Form a habit of trying to find the risk. That's where you find out your project will always be healthy. This risk, if you can, this method we are applying here, you yourself, you can even apply it to yourself. I know some people are very, very diligent in managing their health. Your life is a project. Every month, they must go to hospital for a checkup. It's not because they are having sickness. You find out they don't have headache, they don't have anything. They just go check up. This could be their own raid in their life. Check up. Every time you go for checkup, you see that after examination, they might tell you you have high blood pressure, stop taking alcohol, stop smoking, this and that, high BP. You know, they might find something to tell you as they check you. But if you do not check it, you might find out that it can go out of control by the time the sickness is going to come. That's why you see some people, they hardly get sick. It's not because they are created in a special way, because so many of them are very diligent in managing their health. The way you manage your health, that way you can equally manage your projects. You see some people, they have life insurance. You know, life insurance to protect their family. If anything happened to you, you find out that even if, because let me tell you, no matter how rich you are, it's not easy to save money. Yes. I see a big amount of money all the time, but as they are coming, you already have one thing where you are going to put the money in one project or the other. You know, making you all the time, you don't have liquid cash. If anything happened to you, for instance, now all of us are going to die. You wake up tomorrow, yes, and you hearing yourself, you are no longer, you are in a different place, you are in heaven. You wake up in heaven. Yeah. As you are rejoicing, you are in heaven, they are crying, you are dead on earth. And you didn't have anything in your bank account, no money. Because you are going to work every day as you are bringing the money, bills, this. You don't have anything. It can affect your children that you dream so much they are going to university. They will not go to university. But if you have been managing your life insurance, find out that some people, you die, they even pay you $2 million or £2 million as you are dead. Your family can fall back on that. You know, they manage it very well. You can still sustain them and keep the dream alive. These are risk management. It's nothing you are doing, it's risk. Risk management. Going to check your hospital when is risk, that is identification. When you go for checkup, you are trying to identify a risk in your life. Antibodies, sickness, hidden sickness. If you don't aggressively ransack your body, you might not know that there is a tumor growing in some part of your body. You know? So many sicknesses could be avoided. Cancer, this and that. You know, women, there's a stage women will reach, we go for, start checking for prostate. Even though you don't feel anything, you continue to go and check. It could be hiding. And early check, you find out, and you remove it. Women, breast cancer, you know, you can go and be monitoring your system all the time. And then at early stage, you detect it. People will not even know that anything else. You go and remove the lump. And people will not know that anything happened. But if you do not do it until it becomes an issue, it can come as a breast cancer fully stage 4, and everybody will be on risk. So the way I apply this is the way you can apply it in a project. It's the same thing. There's no difference. Yeah. All you need to do is understand how to do it. So looking at this RAID example, you can use this table as an example. Very good example. So here in this table, you see the element. Remember, we identify 4 elements. One of the RAID elements is risk. Another element is assumption. Another element is issue. And another element is dependency. And we say, have a unique identifier. Let every element, whether it's a risk, whether it's an assumption, whichever, as you are identifying it. Why we call this log, RAID log, is you log in. When you identify it, go there and register it. When you are registering it, that's what we call logging in. You log it in. You can call it RAID register, but the name is RAID log. You log it in. In the risk register, you register it. That's the name. So you come here, after brainstorming, you identify a risk, you describe the risk, and you see the risk is delay in vendor onboarding. Delay. And the likelihood of it happening is high. The impact is going to be high. You determine why it's going to be high, why you choose. Then assign an owner. You see, in this case, the owner of this will assign it to a project manager. And mitigation or action, that is the plan to handle this risk, is prioritize key vendors, initiate earlier onboarding. Who are the key vendors? Initiate earlier onboarding. And here you see the status. The current status is open. So if you have not resolved a risk, it will remain open. So how do you resolve it? When you come back and you find out there is no longer delay on vendor onboarding, as long as there is delay, it will remain open. But when you eliminate, there is no delay, there is free, good movement, everything is happening on point, then you can come here and close it. So closing it, and you hear any element you log in, you select what it is. For instance, you are registering here, you choose what it is. Is it risk? Is it assumption? Is it issue? You choose the element. In this case, you want to register this and you find out that it's assumption. You choose the element assumption. So you capture all the elements, I will call them RAID. You capture all the RAID in one sheet because all of them is pointing out to unhealthiness of that project. Everything here can cause a negative impact on that project if it's not managed very well. You see here assumption. We assume, that is assumption, and the assumption unique identifier is A001, and this one is risk is R001. You see, all of them are unique. So on this assumption, we assume we are going to have sufficient vendors, sufficient vendor availability. That is assumption. We're assuming that in our platform, we are going to have enough vendor. But things can change, and we go out and find out we don't have enough vendor. So here is medium and moderate. The impact can be moderate, and then we assign it to business analysts. And to mitigate this, vendor analysis before expansion. We can't just quote. We can't just say we're going to follow the assumption. So we need to validate there is going to be enough vendor. How do we validate? We can go to the market environment, take a survey through business. Yeah, mostly business analysts, they can validate it through a survey. They can carry out a survey and see how many people are willing, even before we launch our website or we launch our mobile app, how many people are willing to sell their food in our platform or become a vendor in our platform. How many restaurants, how many cloud kitchen, and through the survey, we see the feedback. With the feedback, if we are targeting 100 vendor capacity, and during the survey, we see that 500 vendors are indicating interest, then we can say validation. We can validate this assumption that yes, actually we have enough. That's valid. So we can validate it. So this one is not opening or closing. Assumption is not opening or closing. It's validation. We validated it through a survey, business analysis survey. So you see, you are assigning these to business analysts. Why are we assigning it to business analysts? Can anybody tell me why we are assigning this assumption of sufficient vendor to business analysts instead of a project manager? Can you tell me that, anybody? Yes, Frank?
Yes, sir. So the business analyst will run a survey, will do a poll. From the poll, you'll be able to know that these are the numbers, these are the things that would likely happen.
Yes, so I say, why are we assigning to business analysts?
Okay, because he will have the tools, the available tools to run the research, the survey, and analyze it.
Okay, that's good. Udeke Charles. You can't hear you. You are mute. You are mute.
Sorry. Okay. I said, as an addendum to what you have just said, a business analyst will be in a better position based on his or her experience in the field to handle the task better.
Yes. Yeah, both of you are, yes, just confirming, saying the same thing. So that's why I said you don't just assign an ownership to a team member because he's your friend or because you want to punish him. Go and do it. I don't like you, or just do it because I know you make some money out of it because you're my friend. No. You find somebody who is capable. You look at here, for a validation, there should be level of field survey, field analysis. You know, that is what business analysts need to go out there to do data collection, to find out how many people that are interested in our products before we can say we have enough vendor. If you do not do this validation, this assumption that we're going to is just a misstatement. It needs to be validated that there is enough vendor out there in the market waiting for us. Yes. And that's how you do it. Every of them, that's how you manage everything. And issue here, issue is a problem already. The problem, low customer satisfaction in new area. And here is medium likelihood and high impact if it happen. Impact is going to be high if we don't have enough customers and we'll have customer support. So we assign it to customer support to make sure that we have satisfied customers, supporting them, capturing them, standing there to handle issues. So we can always, customers will not be happy if we don't have anybody attending to them. If they have issues and we resolve it, they're asking questions, we're answering the question, we're trying. So we have a dedicated customer support that will always analyze their complaint and adjust services quality. So that way, you see this red log. So you can have as many items on the red log, so many of them, like even dependency here, reliance on local delivery partners. And here we assign it to logistic lead, and the mitigation plan is establish partnership with reliable vendors. So if we are depending on local partners, then we must make sure that they are reliable, because their dependency, we are depending on them. We don't have our own delivery men. We don't have delivery men. That's what it means here. So we rely on third-party delivery men. If we need to rely on third-party delivery men, they are going to be reliable. If they are not reliable and customers place an order from our platform and there is no one to go and deliver the order, then our platform is already collapsing. Yeah. So somebody who have good knowledge of logistics need to come in, and that's where you see logistics lead, to make sure that this person in our team has the most knowledge about logistics, delivery, everything, and to know the delivery people or company to trust or not to trust. You can see, you see DHL, you see UPS, these are top notch. We need to work with these people. They are reliable. They don't fail. You see these people, if they take your order, it will take them something they need to deliver in 1 hour. It will take them 2 days to deliver. We don't want that kind of people. So this is how this can happen. So this is RAID log. You see, it helps us. It's very elaborate, captures a lot. And looking at the counterpart here, risk register, you see it's only talking about risk alone. So we are using these two tools to manage risk in the same company. See here, everything we are talking here is about risk. So here we have only risk ID, R001, R002, R003. So description risk 1, slow in onboarding new vendors. Category operational, likelihood high, impact high, mitigation plan, initiate vendor selection process early, risk owner, project manager. So you see everything here is risk. Unreliable local delivery is still a risk. We captured it as a risk here, and we categorize it as logistics, likelihood, medium, impact, high, mitigation, partner with experienced providers and track. So, and it's open. So everything here, the difference is everything here becomes risk. We'll classify everything as risk. So you can still use it to manage, but this is more matured, more professional, more like of a consulting. So if you present this to work to external risk manager, of course, the rate will be more professional, more acceptable. So you have 2 of them to learn and know how to use them. You don't know where you are going to work. You might find yourself where they say use risk register. You tell them that RAID is better. They tell you we know, but we want to use risk register. Yeah. And so, okay, sir, and follow them. But if where you don't know anything, they are waiting for you to bring your expertise, then you can produce a better, a more robust tool for them. So the benefit of using RAID or risk register: clear documentation, maintain a record of all project issues, all project risk, issue, assumption, and dependencies. Risk visibility, highlight critical project risk and assign responsibility for each. Proactive management, enable team to identify, respond to risk before they escalate. Enhance communication, keep stakeholders informed on potential challenges and mitigation efforts. Let me tell you one thing. If you become a project manager and every week the stakeholders or the project sponsor, they will tell you, do we have any risk? You tell them, no, we don't have any risk. Everything is in order. The second day, do we have any risk? No, sir. We are in charge. No risk. We know everyone. Do you think they are going to be happy? You are telling them no risk. They are not going to be happy because they know there should be risk. It's a project you are managing. So don't be scared of capturing risk. That you say there is a risk is not a crime. As a matter of fact, it's good when you identify risk. Because when you identify risk, means the project is healthy. But all the time you say no risk, no risk, no risk. If me, I'm not gonna be comfortable. Because the day is going to happen. It's going to happen like a tsunami, and the whole project will go down, boom. We don't even know, we will not know where to start. So it's better we keep identifying them small, small. We keep dealing with them. That's why they hired you. They hired you to come here and be identifying risk and be blocking them. That is your purpose of being a project manager. So if you are coming to say no risk, no risk, no risk, so that they say you are not doing your job, you must fish out those risks. So risk management through tools like RedLog or RIS is vital to ensuring project success. By tracking risk, issue, assumption, and dependence, the project team can proactively address challenges, communicate transparently with stakeholders, and reduce the likelihood of adverse project outcome. Then we'll have what we call risk probability number. Risk probability number that you need to work it out. So the risk probability number is a numerical score used in risk management to prioritize risk based on the severity, likelihood, occurrence, and detectability. It helps determine which risk requires immediate action. How do we calculate the risk probability number? The risk probability number has this formula. The probability number is severity times likelihood times detectability number equal to severity over likelihood and time detectability number equal to severity times likelihood times detectability. So, whereas severity is impact, severity impacts if the risk occurs. So, for us to get severity, we scale it from 1 to 5 in a scale of 1 to 5, while 1 is the low and 5 is the highest. Then likelihood is going to be probability of the risk occurring. So likelihood of it occurring is going to be in a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being rare and 5 being frequent of it happening. Then detectability, D, is the ability to detect the risk before it happens. And we use a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is easily detectable and 5 is hard to detect. These are the scales. So what you need to do is you and your team need to determine through a vote, determine how severe, like I told you, the severity, how the impact. So if you are 5, for instance, you have 5 people in a team and they want to detect the the severity, you can say everybody should vote between 1 to 5 on the severity. And then after voting, we get the aggregate. The aggregate becomes the severity. Is what you and your team agreed. And then the likelihood, everybody will vote again on 1 being rare and 5 being the frequency of it happening. And you do it again on the detectability, which is D. Once you get these 3 numbers, severity, likelihood, and detectability, then you can then use it to do your calculation. For instance, here, if at the end of the exercise, if a data migration failure has, for instance, you say severity is, the team agreed that the severity is 4, high impact, and likelihood is 3, and the detectability is 4. So the risk probability number is going to be 4 by 3 by 4, and is 48. So, and that's it. So if it's 48, we'll come down here and say high probability number value indicates high priority, and we say the overall risk probability number is 50. So whatever we get from our workout, we use it here against 50. So in this calculation here, our risk probability number is 48. 48, and the overall risk probability, the highest you can have is 50. So how do we understand the level we are? How do we say that we have a critical, or we have high risk, or we have medium, or we have low? According to the risk probability number, critical is anywhere between 40 to 50. We say that is critical. Then anywhere between 25 to 40 against the 50 is high. Anywhere between 15 to 25 is medium. Then anywhere between 1 to 15 is low. So that's how we can classify and say, yes, is critical. Yes, is high. Yes, is medium, or is low. So for those of us who are not mathematicians, these are little mathematics we are going to be coming across. It's not a big mathematics anyway. So let us go to our red log, which we are going to be using. We have a template we are going to be using. This is our red template. So looking at this template, this is what we call dashboard, red dashboard. In our red dashboard, you can see we have risk, we have assumption, we have issues, we have dependencies. Looking at it here, we don't have anything recorded in this red. Looking at the dashboard, everything is 0. So if you come here, we have 2 sheets here. One is dashboard and one is the log where we register the raid. So this is, if we want to see where we register the raid, we click on this log. And on the log, we're able to, yeah. So you see the red log here. Now, you can see here, we have some items we recorded here. Yes, but if you come to the status, looking at the status here, you see that they are closed. All of them are closed. And because we've closed all the raid here, they are no longer a problem. And that's why if we come to our dashboard, you see it's 0. We don't have anything because everything is closed. But let's say we are capturing them afresh. Everything here is fresh. Okay. We say this one is a risk. We want to capture a risk. Data migration failure from legacy. Let's capture it as a risk. If you look at this drop down, anything you capture, you decide what it is. You can say this is a risk. You can say it's an assumption. You can say it's an issue. You can say it's a dependency. If you change it here to assumption, it becomes assumption. If you change it here to issue, it becomes an issue. If you change it here to dependency, it becomes a dependency. And let's move it back to risk. Let's say we're capturing it as a risk. Data migration failure from legacy. The impact here is loss of critical customer and lead. And we see this risk, whom are we going to assign it to? We say we are going to assign it to IT manager. And we say is critical. We give it critical. We didn't just give it critical because we want to give it critical, because if you come here, you see our risk probability number is 48. And you remember our workout that between 40 to 50 is critical. So if I open this, you see here, you see the severity is 4, likelihood is 3, detectability is 4. When you times them, you give you 48, and that's why is 48, and 48 is critical. So we see how we arrive at critical of this particular risk. And let's say we just captured it, so we open it. We open it because we just captured it, we've not resolved it. We capture another risk here, you know, and we see, we describe the risk here as user resistance to CRM adoption. They have refused to migrate. They've agreed to use the CRM we've implemented. And we see impact here is low adoption rate. And yeah, so what do we do here? And we say we're going to assign it to project manager. And we say is a high risk. The probability is a high risk. So, why is it high risk? During our workouts of the risk probability number, we come up to 24, and this is it. So we say it's high. And we just captured it, we open it. And we'll come on this again. Assumption. All agents, we assume that all agents will complete the CRM system. All agents is an assumption. Ensure full utilization of the CRM. And for that to happen, we give it to training lead. The training lead will make sure that they understand it very well. And here, we just capture as critical, but it's not a risk. It's not, we don't see it as a risk. It's because the risk probability is not applicable. So this should be negligible, or we can just add another item here and call it, because this is assumption. We only use risk probability number in risk. Yeah, I want you to understand that. We can't use risk probability number in assumption. We can't use it in issue, and we cannot use it in dependency. We can only use it in risk. We can use this in risk register most of the time. And if we're using it here, if we're applying it here, we can only apply it in risk. And that's why you see here, I say not applicable. Issue, not applicable. If you add another this thing and call it not applicable, all these ones will not applicable because they are not risk. So we can't use risk probability number on them because they are not risk. So, because if we need to say it's critical, we need to state why it's critical. Evidence of being critical is this risk probability number. If you look at this one again, you see risk, and here we capture it as severe risk because it's 48. It's between 40 to 50. So, and because we have not resolved all this risk we capture here, all of them will remain open. We leave them open until we find answer to them. So you see here, that's what we call logging. We've logged all our risk, all our issues and dependency. As more we are capturing, we are logging it in. And as we are resolving, we are closing. And because all of them are open now, let's go back to our dashboard. If we go back to our dashboard, or looking at our dashboard, so you see in our dashboard, everything in our dashboard used to be 0, but you can see our dashboard is now beginning to show. You see two critical risk, 1 high risk, and a total of 3 risk we have here. Assumption here, we have only 1 assumption. Then here, issue here, we have only 1 issue. And then dependency, we have only 1 dependency. And yeah, if you look at all the high 1, all the critical 2, and total items If you look at it here, the total items in our raid here is we have a total of 6 items in our raid. So we have 3 risks, 1 assumption, 1 issue, and 1 dependency. So the dashboard here is just to give us a kind of a statistics of what is going on. Yeah. Analytics, just like analytics of what is happening in our project risk. So with this, looking at this already, automatically will show us how healthy our project is. How healthy. Looking at our project, and we'll see that everything in our project will critical. Like here we'll have 2 critical risks. We will know that there is work to do. We need to set up. Everything is critical. But if you look at everything is low, or negligible, then we see that our project is in good health. But in this particular project, for the fact that everything we have here is critical, then this project is not in a very good health. It's not healthy. So we need to work hard to resolve all these items in our red log. So this is how you use this our template if you want to use it. So yeah, it's very good. So it's up to you to use it or not, but it's very good. Very good tool. I'll make it available as some of those things you are getting from me free of charge. Yeah. Thank you. And if you have question, I'm going back so we can answer a question. So you raise your hand. I've already spent a lot of time. This is a very big topic, you know, so it's not something we do back. So yeah. Well, tomorrow we are going to be moving to project planning. So we'll talk about risk. So tomorrow's project planning. Yeah, if you have any question, yeah, I'll just spend 5 minutes to address any question. Once it's 9 p.m., we should be out of this because this is supposed to last between 7 to 8, and we've spent 2 hours already. So Mr. John Peter.
Good evening, Mr. Charles.
Good evening.
My question is on the risk probability number.
Okay.
And you made mention of throwing it as a vote. You vote, then
Yes.
the majority will take the lead. So what I'm asking is that
there is no majority there. I have to correct you here. Everybody is an aggregate. When it's an aggregate, there is no majority there.
Aggregate. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe that may clear my question. But what I want to ask is the element of the voting. Is it that each of the team members will support their votes with a genuine opinion to convince the other people, or is it just by mere voice votes?
Yeah, like I said, if it's in a scale of 1 to 5, and you have your vote, you must vote 1. You must vote out of 1 to 5. You can choose, you can vote 1. You can say my vote is 2, or you can say my vote. You must vote 1 from 1 to 5. You can choose one number from 1 to 5 based on your own ingenuity, your understanding, meaning that it's a collective decision. That's why everybody is making input. You are giving everybody a franchise. The project manager is not going to come and say, I think. Everybody is now saying, all of us here can vote. At the end of the day, the vote will not, it's either we get 1 or we get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. By the time we pull the aggregate of all of us here, it's either going to be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Because if we vote, we are going to use the number here to divide whatever we voted, and it's going to come down to between 1 to 5. So meaning that everybody is a collective decision of the team that this is severe. And is a business, is a serious business. If you come there to play, they tell you to vote, and you cannot defend your vote, then we equally label you as a risk. And the next time you are going to be kicked out of the project. Yeah. So nobody is begging you to play or to, if whenever you cast, then you defend your vote. You say that this is severe, or you say that we are seeing, or for instance, we say that internet connectivity is a risk, is a severe risk, and you come here, you tell us that no, it's 1, it's negligible, it's not severe. You tell us how it's not, you convince us. If you continue to show us that we are very stupid, then when it's time to deal with stupid people in the project, you are going to be the first person to deal with.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right. I would have loved to take more questions, but my time is up. So if you have any question, put it on the timeline and everybody will contribute. It's 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Thank you for joining, and see you tomorrow. Sorry, Rebecca. You can drop your question on the platform.
Okay, sir.
No, thank you very much. Good night, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
night,
very
sir.
much. Good night.
Good night. So,
Okay. The